Welcome. Um, I'm going to, my title explains itself in essence because Attorney James have charged um, Trump with civil crimes totaling approximately $250 million. And her, in making the announcement, she said that no one is above the law. But Attorney James' office has, in a civil suit, had um, been above the law because in Richardson versus New York State Department of Correctional Services and Civil Service, um, every declaration filed in that case by, I think it was a total of 7 different New York State civil service and or correctional services employees, every one contained perjury. And at least 5 of those were actually mailed the facts to those employees by Mike Russo, who at one time, I don't know if he's still working for Attorney General James, but he was in charge of her Buffalo office. And that was the office that filed the perjury declarations in my case that resulted in it being dismissed and thrown out of court. And I have been trying to get the Democrats to use that narrative to get out the vote so that they can achieve all of their agenda items to make this nation a more just nation for all of its citizens. And I'm going to read you part of the letter that I wrote when I was working in 2014 for the Harris County Democratic Party as a paid fellow. And the person I addressed it to was the chairman of the Harris County Democratic Party, who was Lane Lewis. And Lane Lewis would later write me a reference letter to work for Hillary Clinton. And once that letter was received, I was hired immediately without needing any more, any other additional references. But this is what I said to Lane Lewis in 2014, part of it. I believe that I can be a tool or fellow that can help get out the vote by sharing my story, why justice matters, and that it starts at the local level. I am also the mother of a Marine, and I'm going to leave the rest of that part out because I talked about my son. I also am an African American woman who was unjustly terminated by the New York State Department of Correctional Services on November 2nd, 1998, after filing an October 15, 1997 employment discrimination lawsuit. I am hoping that you can get me in front of an audience to motivate Black and Hispanics to vote like their lives depend on it, because it does. Additionally, we can change America by using Screw, by former governor and attorney general Elliot Spitzer, my book that I was able to upload the evidence in it as pictures that proves that proves the discriminatory event or the action or inaction that happened to me while I was employed by New York State Correctional Services. The direct evidence in it can start a conversation that sheds light on one form of racism, employment discrimination. I would include in the conversation the fact that I have respectfully requested that President Obama use an executive order to amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964 again. President Obama signed an executive order for Lillie Ledbetter and women. I believe that he would sign another executive order for me and other African American employment discrimination victims after the November 4th, 2014 election. And that was a midterm election. He was reelected in 2012. Victims of employment, victims of unlawful discrimination shouldn't have their cases unjustly dismissed at the district court level based on one federal judge absolute authority to unjustly dismiss Civil Rights Act of 1964 Title VII cases based on summary judgment motion. The statutory purpose of summary judgment and the right of all Americans to a fair and equal justice can both be accomplished with a well-written and defined amendment to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Civil Rights Act again will prevent one judge from having the absolute authority to grant summary judgment motions to dismiss employment discrimination cases. So I presented that to him in the book, and I also talked to another county official later on in during the 2014 midterm election. And what happened in Harris County, Wendy Davis was on the top of the ticket. She was running for governor. And the Democratic Party poured like $40 million. They poured more money into Texas because they thought they really had a shot of winning the governorship. But because they had so much money and they were pretty confident that they were going to win, they changed the rules. And I don't know what those rules were because I was a fellow, but the African American community who had, supported them and worked for them all this time, the money didn't flow, to everybody. And I guess that would be just an easy way to say it. And that's just my, interpretation. So the people who had worked in the community, or the community people who, and I'm sure they may have had titles too in the local level, they decided that they were going to teach white people a lesson. They were not going to vote in 2014 since they changed the rules when they had more money. When I heard that, I also made Lane Lewis aware of that. I was like, I'm hearing that, they're telling Black people not to vote. We need to do something. You need to do something to change that. And, and like I said, he gave me the reference letter that got me hired on the 2016 presidential campaign. So you don't have any hard feelings, and this conversation happened. And he said, we're not going to change anything. We're not going to make any adjustments. He was confident, and I'm assuming that he was confident, that Black people would vote. In the 2014 election, not one single Democrat at the local level, I believe at the national level, Wendy Davis didn't win. And we had amazing African-American candidates for judges. And not one of those people won in 2014 because African-Americans did not vote. And when we had our end of the session, like what went right, what went wrong, a person that was sitting in a position on a local board, very prominent. She actually went on to appear on a reality show about lawyers, stated that African Americans didn't vote, and they did it on purpose to teach the party and white people a lesson. And when she said it, my head turned. I couldn't believe that she, verbalized that, and that she thought that that was a good thing. In 2016, Hillary Clinton did not win for obvious reasons. Now, that's a whole nother video. But every single, the Harris County made national news and national history. They had every single Black person that ran to be a judge that year. It was, I think, 25 Black women were elected to judgeships in Harris County during that cycle. And I'm assuming that the party made an adjustment after the 2014 election. And I believe that's what needs to happen now. Democrats are pretty confident now because a lot of people are are registering to vote. But I want to remind them that Donald Trump he got 70,000, I think he got 70,000 votes, 70 million votes, and maybe more than 70 million, because I see 77 in my, I'm not sure, but he got over 70 million votes. He got the second largest votes in a presidential campaign than any other person in history. And Joe Biden won because the African American females, we voted in record numbers. And even though Trump, because our lives depended on it again, and we trust Joe, and we still trust Joe. So if we want to help him, and to say, especially since our democracy is on the line, we need to do everything and use every tool in the book to get out the vote. And the fact that what the New York State Attorney General office did to me, I'm gonna share one thing that was when I filed my complaint, my original complaint, on October 15, 1997, I filed it on that date, and I was still working for the Department of Correctional Services. And on November the 2nd, 1998, I was terminated, and I say in retaliation for filing that lawsuit. And the judge gave me, I filed a petition to him to amend my complaint to include that unlawful termination on November the 2nd at the beginning, and it translated to the beginning of business on November the 3rd. So he allowed that. And when the defendants filed their summary judgment motions, when they answered the complaint, when they answered the amended complaint, this was their answer to it. They agreed that I was terminated on November the 2nd, 1998. No, November 2nd, 1997. They agreed. So that means that, okay, that's settled because they agreed to that. It's not in dispute. When they filed when I filed my summary judgment motion stating that fact, they changed the statement and said that I was terminated on November the 7th, 1998, because, for statutory reasons and to try and make it seem like it wasn't discriminatory. And they also had a Section 72 hearing for me where they had testimony from one of the person, James Burberry, who was one of the ones who filed the perjury declarations to get the case dismissed. He testified at a hearing that I should not have been having because I was receiving workman's comp for 3 injuries that I had as a correctional officer. And James Burberry testified, and I made them aware of that fact. I didn't attend the hearing, and that's the whole, and I was justified not to attend it because I shouldn't have been having it. It wasn't the work to the correct vehicle because I was attending I was getting workman's comp. And Section 72 law says that if a person is on workman's comp, then you can't terminate them under Section 72. It doesn't apply because I was collecting workman's comp for work-related injuries. And so he testified at the hearing that no workman's comp case was ever filed by me. And as in his position as the deputy superintendent of deputy superintendent of administration, he state stamps every single piece of paper that goes into a person personnel folder. And sometimes he signs it too, but it's always date stamped and it says received and it has the date, personnel, and it says approved by, for personnel folder by Deputy Superintendent Administrative Services. And this is a form that shows that I was collecting workman's comp. I had 3 injuries. So from 1993, I received, and this from 1993 to 1997, $25,808.20 in workman's comp benefits. But this man testified at a hearing that no workman's comp case was ever filed by me. And they said that I was terminated on December the 7th. And then in the personnel folder, and which would have been if I had been allowed to have a jury trial, because I did depositions, this would have been one of the depositions. It shows that I was terminated November 2nd and or the close of the beginning of the business of November 3rd, 1998. So I'm saying all that, and then when to say that if she's going to make Trump pay for all those years, and she investigated them all those years, and it didn't matter like when it happened, then she can recommend to Governor Hochul, New York State Governor Hochul, that they can make me whole by giving me my entitled disability retirement from the time I filed for it, which was in 1997, until today's date. And if I worked as hard as I do without getting paid, imagine a religious, because I believe it's my divine purpose, how many people that it would motivate to vote. Because we need to have more people voting in the midterm elections in 2022 on November the 8th, so that the numbers are too large for the Republicans and anybody else to steal. Because with all those people that are registered now, with white people, and this is not racial, it's just a fact, right? If they manipulate the vote, we don't know, did those people not vote for Democrats? But the black vote, we know that, I would say, and I believe this to be true, but this is just my opinion, I believe that 95% of black people that vote for Democrats. So that's what we need to do to win this election. It's a win-win. I'm tired. I'm tired of this fight. I'm tired of having this conversation. And in 2016, Hillary Clinton recorded me at the end of the campaign, because I finally convinced them that, we need to do this, because it wasn't looking good for us. And at the last minute, because they had sent me the release to sign, first they were going to use me in the first commercial in North Carolina, but then they discovered that I was so anti-Hillary. I wanted Joe Biden to run in 2016. But after she was the nominee, as an African-American woman, an African-American person, I knew that we had to win to save Obama's legacy. So first, so it was like a little, others could not understand that. But at the end, the commercial that I would have been in the first commercial out of North Carolina, it didn't air. And I'm sure with the vetting, they found my prior anti-Hillary stance. But then at the end of the campaign, they sent me another release to sign, and they were going to use the videotape that we had taped, that they had taped of me and other people doing a training session. But they didn't use that either. And we know the rest is history. We got Donald Trump. and all that that entails. So America, the Democrats, especially who's in charge now? Who's over the Jamie Harrison over the DNC? Use me. Let's win this thing. Let's win. Make me whole so I can live the rest of my life. I'm 68 years old. And unfortunately, I became like one of the people, the many Americans who have cancer. I'm waiting for cancer treatment now. It's stage 1, blessed so far. But I want to live my life. I want peace. I want justice. And I want to help save this democracy. Thank you very much. Hey, baby. Lynn.
Auntie.
Hey, honey.
Hi, you're still recording.
I am? Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's me telling you to end the live.
Okay.
Alrighty.
So wait a minute. What do I need to do? Because it took me to, like, I'm doing the thumbnail. So go back to.
Are you on StreamYard?
I'm in the studio. I see live. It's still showing. It's doing details.
Yeah, so just look for end broadcast.
In broadcast, okay.
Yes.
It's the end screen down the bottom.
You got it?
I see it, but it's not lit up for me to It's telling me to save. Not for kids. It's making me do the other stuff first. Oh, now it came back to it. So now I can end it. Yes. All right. Thank you, dear.
Okay, love you. Talk to you later.
Okay. Talk to you. Yeah. Thank you.